Hello friends, in today's topic we will talk about the mechanism of muscle contraction. And before we start with the mechanism of muscle contraction, let us have a look at the structure of the sarcomere. Now sarcomere, as we all know, is the structural and functional unit of the myofibril. And the sarcomere, this extends from one Z line up to another Z line. So here is one Z line and this is here the another Z line. So between these two Z lines is the sarcomere. And we know that each sarcomere is formed of one A band. So if I write here the sarcomere is formed of one full A band or the dark band, and on either side of this A band are present one half of I band. On either side of the full A band is present one half of the I band. So here in this diagram you will see that this region, this portion is called as the A band. So this will be the A band. And if you observe this A band is formed of the two types of filaments. The red filaments here are the thin filaments. So here the red filaments which are shown in red, these are the thin filaments, while as the filaments that are shown in blue, they are the thick filaments. So the ones that are in blue, they are the thick filaments. Now please note that within this A band there are two zones. One zone is that where there are both thin filaments and thick filaments, or this region is formed of overlapped portions of thin and thick filaments. So here this portion here you will see that it is formed of overlapped thin and thick filaments. So this portion is called as the O band. So here the overlapped region within the A band, which is formed of both thin and thick filaments, this is called as the O band. This will be the O band. So here this is O band, right? While as the middle of this A band is formed only of the thick filaments, which are in blue color. So this portion in the middle of A band, which is formed of only thick filaments, is called as the H zone. So this is called as the H zone. So this zone will be called as here H zone. So let me write here H zone. Please note that within the middle of this H zone there is present a line which is called as M line, and this M line is actually responsible for holding the myosin bundles together. And now on either side of this A band is present the I band, and I band you will half of I band, this I band which is marked in the green color. So these green colored these red colored filaments which you will see, these red colored filaments are the thin filaments, and you will see that this is formed of only the red filaments. The green filaments that are present in between these red filaments, they are of non-contractile protein called as titin. So these are the titin proteins, these non-contractile proteins. This titin protein will connect the thick filaments with the Z line, right? So this was the structure of the sarcomere. Now what happens during muscle contraction is that the length of the sarcomere decreases. So during muscle contraction, it is the sarcomere that decreases, and we know that in a myofibril there are present several sarcomeres, and when all the sarcomeres of a muscle myofibril contract, the entire myofibril will contract. So when sarcomere, so let us note this point. So when during muscle contraction the sarcomere contracts. When sarcomeres contract, when all the sarcomeres contract, so contraction of all sarcomeres will result in the contraction of the entire myofibril. So entire myofibril gets contracted. When all the myofibrils of a muscle fiber contract, the entire muscle fiber will contract. Muscle fiber contracts. And when all the muscle fibers of a muscle contract, the entire muscle contracts. So muscle contract is when the myofibrils or sarcomeres contract. Sarcomere contraction will result in the contraction of myofibrils, and myofibril contraction will result in contraction of some muscle fiber. Muscle fiber is the name of muscle cell, and when muscle fibers contract, the entire muscle contracts. Now it has been observed that during this muscle contraction there is no change with respect to the length of the proteins. So protein is size of the proteins won't change, neither the thick proteins nor the thin proteins. Now in order to explain this phenomena, a theory was proposed by three scientists. That theory is called as the sliding filament theory. Now as far as the sliding filament theory is concerned, this sliding filament theory, this was given by, so let us now explain this sliding filament theory. Sliding filament theory, this theory was given by A.F. Huxley, H.E. Huxley, and Jean Manson in 1954. So this theory was given by these scientists. The important one is being the Huxley, A.F. Huxley and H.E. Huxley, sometimes also referred to as Huxley and Huxley. This was given by these scientists in England in 1954. Now according to this theory, a muscle will contract when the thin filament is slide over the thick filaments rather than by shrinking of the filaments. So this theory states that muscle contract is this theory states that muscle contraction results from sliding of thin filaments over the thick filaments, over the thick filaments rather than by shrinking of filaments. So filaments won't shrink, there won't be any change with respect to the size of the filaments, rather the thin filaments will slide over the thick filament. So again I will show you this in this image. You can see here that there is no change with respect to, in the diagram below, there is no change with respect to the size of the filament. So what is actually happening is that these thin filaments, they are sliding over the thick filament. So this thin filament, red filament in red color, that is sliding over the thick filament. So thin filaments are sliding over the thick filaments. So that is resulting in the contraction of the sarcomere. The length of the sarcomere is decreasing. So sarcomere decreases in size by some 60 to 70% during the muscle contraction, and this has been explained by the sliding filament theory. Now what are the various events that occur during sliding filament theory? Let us discuss that, and then we will revisit the sliding filament theory. So during this muscle contraction, following events will occur. Following events occur during muscle contraction. Occur during muscle contraction. Now the first muscle contraction is actually initiated by the signal, by the impulse coming from the motor neurons. So when motor neurons will bring the impulse, motor neurons brings impulse to the neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. So at this neuromuscular junction, the motor neuron will release the neurotransmitter, and neurotransmitter that is released at the neuromuscular junction is always the acetylcholine. So at neuromuscular junction, the motor neurons will release acetylcholine. So there is release of acetylcholine. This is also written as ACH at the neuromuscular junction from motor nerve endings. And this acetylcholine will bind with its receptor on the sarcolemma. On the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber are present the receptors of the acetylcholine. So acetylcholine will bind with this its receptor, and the binding of acetylcholine with its receptor on the sarcolemma causes the opening of the sodium gated voltage gated sodium channels. As a result of this, there will be influx of sodium inside the sarcolemma. So this results in the influx of the sodium ions from outside into the sarcoplasm. And this influx of the sodium ions from outside into the sarcoplasm will cause the depolarization of the sarcolemma. So sarcolemma will get depolarized, or we can say that action potential will be generated. So sarcolemma, this causes the depolarization of the sarcolemma. Sarcolemma that is depolarized. Sarcolemma is depolarized. Now sarcolemma is depolarized, or in other words, this action potential is generated, and that action potential then passes through the T tubules in the sarcoplasm. That does not remain confined to the sarcolemma alone, but the depolarization or action potential or the wave of this depolarization that reaches into the sarcoplasm, into the cytoplasm of the muscle cell, so via T tubules. So we will write this point as well. So next step will be that action potential passes through T tubules into the sarcoplasm. And we know that these T tubules, they are flanked by the what are called as the sarcocisternae of sarcoplasmic reticulum. So if I will show this diagrammatically, let me show this, let us draw a rough diagram. Suppose this is here the sarcolemma, and these are the T tubules, and we know that T tubules are flanked. These T tubules, they are flanked by the cisternae of sarcoplasmic reticulum. The sarcoplasmic reticulum, they are storehouses of calcium. We know that they contain calcium. They are storehouses of calcium. They contain calcium ions, calcium dipositive. They are full of calcium ions, right? So what is happening here is that first the new motor neuron. So let me draw a motor neuron here. This is suppose is the motor neuron. This is the axon terminal of a motor neuron or motor end plate. So this releases the neurotransmitter. So here a neurotransmitter will be released. Suppose this is the neurotransmitter, and this neurotransmitter will bind with its receptor. It is a receptor on the sarcolemma. These are the receptors on the sarcolemma, and binding of this neurotransmittyl choline with its receptor that causes the depolarization of the sarcolemma. So sarcolemma will get depolarized. Depolarized means that it was charge will get reversed. So earlier it was positive outside and negative inside. Now it will become positive inside. So this will become positive inside and negative outside. So there will be charge reversal. So earlier it was positive outside and negative inside, but because of the binding of acetylcholine on its receptors, that will result in the charge reversal, or the action potential will be generated. Now this action potential, wave of this action potential, this is being this now reaches to the sarcoplasm, and once it reaches the sarcoplasm, the sarcoplasmic reticulum that are present adjacent to these T tubules, they will get their calcium channels will be opened, and there will be the exit of the calcium ions. So these calcium ions will be released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So sarcoplasmic reticulum will release the calcium ions. So that is the next step. So next step we will write that after action potential reaches the sarcoplasm, the calcium ions, calcium channels on sarcoplasmic reticulum open. So once they open, they will release this calcium in the sarcoplasm. So there will be exit of calcium from sarcoplasmic reticulum. There will be exit of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum to the sarcoplasm. Right, now this calcium, the calcium that is released in now the sarcoplasm, this calcium then binds with the TNC. You remember the TNC is the one of the component of the troponin. We know troponin is a globular protein having 3 components, TNI, TNT and TNC. So this calcium that is now present in the sarcoplasm, this calcium binds with the TNC component. So calcium then binds to troponin C. So let me highlight this point. So it will bind with the troponin C. So what is this troponin C? Troponin C is also written as TNC. So this is here TNC. So it binds to the TNC. So once it binds to the TNC, the binding of calcium on the TNC brings about conformational change in the later. So there will be conformational change in the troponin, because of which the tropomyosin, which was in the relaxed state, masking the actin sites, that will be exposed. So we will write this point. So TNC or troponin C undergoes conformational change, and as a result of this conformational change, the actin sites become free. Actin sites become free to bind with the myosin and form the cross bridge. Now the later events will occur in a cyclic manner, which will result in the contraction of the muscle fiber. So I will very briefly again recapitulate all these points. So what I have told you so far, that this muscle contraction is initiated by the release of the neurotransmitter from the motor neurons. So motor neurons that bring the impulse to the neuromuscular junction, they will release this acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction, and this binding of acetylcholine will cause influx of sodium inside the sarcoplasm that will result in depolarization of the sarcolemma, and that depolarization quickly spreads and then reaches into the sarcoplasm via the T tubulus, where it will cause opening of the calcium channels on the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now once the calcium channels on the sarcoplasmic reticulum open, they will release the calcium ions. Those calcium ions in the sarcoplasm will then bind with the TNC component of the troponin, and once the calcium binds on the troponin C, it will bring about its conformational change, which will result in shifting of the tropomyosin and is exposing the actin situs. So actin situs will become free to bind with the myosin and form the cross bridge with the actin. Now later on, in order to explain now how this actins will be pulled towards the center or towards the sarcomere, we will now explain about let us talk about the structure of the myosin head first. So if we know, this myosin head is actually ATPase, and it has the myosin actin binding site. So let us suppose that this is the bundle of the myosins. This is the myosin bundle, and from this myosin bundle will emerge a myosin head. This is the myosin head. This is the myosin head, and this myosin head, you will see that it has the two sides. One of its side is for binding with the actin. So this is the actin binding site. Suppose this is, let me highlight this in green. So this is the actin binding site of the myosin head, and this region here is the site that binds with the ATP. So it is an ATP binding site. So let us label them. This head here, this portion of the head, myosin head, this is the actin binding site, and this site here is ATP binding site, and this entire molecule is here, this is the myosin head, right? So what happens is that before this muscle contraction begins, this ATP, this myosin head is bound with the ATP molecule. So to start with, this ATP, this myosin head is bound with the ATP. So here ATP will be attached or will be present at the ATP binding site of the myosin head. So when ATP is bound with the myosin head, at this state myosin has very low affinity for actin. So it won't what is called as get attached with the myosin. So at this state, this myosin head has low affinity towards the actin. When the ATP is bound with the myosin head, at that point, at that stage, myosin head has low affinity for the actin. So at this stage, myosin has low affinity for actin. Now because this ATP myosin head is also an ATPase, it has an enzymatic activity. So what it does is that it will hydrolyze this ATP into ADP. So ATP will be hydrolyzed into ADP. So what will happen? So next is that the ATP, so next step, this ATP which is present at the ATP binding site of the myosin, that will get hydrolyzed. So once it gets hydrolyzed, it will be now transformed into ADP and inorganic phosphate. So let me draw this just like this here. So this is the myosin head again, and this is here, sorry, this is, it is here actin binding site. So here is, it is actin binding site, this is the actin binding site, and now the ATP is being hydrolyzed. So ATP gets hydrolyzed into ADP plus inorganic phosphate. Please note that this ADP and inorganic phosphate is still present at the ATP binding site. So it is still present on the myosin head. But because of this hydrolysis of this ATP into ADP and inorganic phosphate, now this myosin head changes its position and it becomes energetic. Or in other words, at this stage, now this myosin head will have higher affinity towards the actin. So let me draw actin below. Suppose here is now actin. This suppose is the actin. This suppose is the actin. These are the actin, F-actin rather. Now at this stage, this myosin head will be having higher affinity towards the actin. So let us write this point. After the hydrolysis of ATP into ADP and inorganic phosphate, the energy so liberated will energize this myosin head, and this will result in increased affinity of myosin towards the actin. So at this point, myosin has high affinity towards the actin. So at this point, this myosin will be having high affinity towards the actin. As a result of this, this will bind. So this is here the this is tropomyosin, which has moved and it has exposed the actin sites. Now what will happen is that this myosin head will bind with the actin head. So myosin head will bind with the actin. So let us redraw it one more time. So here again, these are, suppose, the myosin bundles, and this is here the myosin head, and this time myosin head now gets attached to the actin. So this is here tropomyosin. I will label them all. This is the actin binding site. Now actin binding site is now in contact with the actin, and here ADP plus inorganic phosphate is still there. Right now, once this myosin head, so let us label this. This is here myosin head. This is myosin head, right? And this here, the round ones, these are the, this is the actin filament or thin filament, and the red one is the tropomyosin, right? Now once this attaches, once myosin head attaches with the actin, it forms what is called as the cross bridge. So an actomyosin complex or cross bridge is established between the myosin head and the actin. So this results in formation of a cross bridge. So a cross bridge or actomyosin complex is formed. So it results in formation of actomyosin complex or a cross bridge. Now once this cross bridge is formed, then this ADP and inorganic phosphate will remove from the myosin head. So they will get they will detach from the myosin head. Now detachment of the ADP and inorganic phosphate from myosin head will again cause the change in the position of the myosin head. In other words, because of the removal of ADP and inorganic phosphate from the myosin head, it will cause rotation or swelling of the myosin head. Now because myosin head is still attached to the actin filamentous, this will drag the actin filamentous towards it, a phenomena which is called as the power stroke. So here if we see, there's this ADP. So let me redraw it again one more time. So what will happen now? Suppose this is again the bundles of the myosin head, and this is here now our myosin head, but this time myosin head has undergone change in its shape. It rotates, it swells. Now it is swelling will because it is still attached, to the actin. It is still attached to the actin, so it will pull the actin filamentous with it towards the center of the sarcomere. So this is called as, so as ADP and inorganic phosphate remove, so ADP, this is ADP and inorganic phosphate are removed from the ADP, the actin, the myosin head will be moved towards other direction and pulling the actin filamentous along with it. So this will be called as the power stroke. This is called as the power stroke. This is called as power stroke. As a result of this, the actin filamentous will move towards the middle of the band or towards the middle of the sarcomere. And now the process then, now again another ATP will bind with the myosin head. Now binding of the ATP with the myosin head will again cause low affinity of myosin head with the ATP. So therefore towards the actin, therefore the myosin head will release the actin filament, and then again ADP will be hydrolyzed. Again it will have the high affinity towards the actin head. Again it will form cross bridge. Again ADP and inorganic phosphate will be released, and again it will rotate one more time, and then the process will be repeated. So all these three steps I will show now you in this diagram. So let us see this image here and explain what is happening. So what is happening here is, you can see here that in the beginning when ATP is bind, so it is the first step here, this one. So this is the first step. So you can see here that during when the muscle contraction, what is happening, that ATP is present at the ATP binding site of the myosin head. So at this point it has low affinity towards the what is called as the actin, so it won't bind with form any cross bridge with the actin. So once it gets what is called as hydrolyzed into ADP and inorganic phosphate here, once it gets hydrolyzed into ADP and inorganic phosphate, which are still there, so it is still there, you can see ADP and inorganic phosphate are still there, but and at that time it will have higher affinity towards the what is called as actin. So once it has higher affinity towards actin, it will change, it will energize the myosin head. So myosin head is energized, as you can see here, myosin head is energized, and it now gets attached with the actin head. So it is now attaching to the actin head. So once it has attached to the actin head, then this phosphate will be removed. So this ADP and phosphate is being removed. Here you can see ADP and phosphate is being removed. So once this ADP and phosphate is removed, it will change, it will result in the swelling or rotation of the myosin head. Myosin head here gets rotated. You can see here myosin head is getting rotated, but because it is still attached to the actin filament, the actin filament will also be moved inwards, right? And then when another molecule of ATP gets attached to the myosin head, it again regains its original position. It detaches from the actin filament, regains its original position. Again the same phenomena will be repeated and the muscle will contract. So muscle contract, so here again you can see the same phenomena. Muscle is getting contracted because of the pulling of this actin filamentous towards the middle. So what will happen during muscle contraction? So during muscle contraction, if you note here that which bands are remaining constant and which bands are contracting. So you can see here that there is no change with respect to the size of the A band. A band does not change its size. There is no change in the size of the A band. So whatever was the size of A band, that remained same. So during muscle contraction, the size of A band remains constant. So we can say that during muscle contraction, this is very, very important. During muscle contraction, you can observe here in this image as well that during muscle contraction, there is no change with respect to the size of the A band. So A band will remain unchanged. A band remains, size of A band remains constant. There is no change with respect to the A band. And what happens to I band? Please note that I band in the resting stage, please note that length of I band in the resting state, and now note the length of I band in the contracted state. So during contracted state, I band has reduced in size. You can see here. So I band is actually contracting. So light bands will be contracting. Why? Because Z lines are pulled. Because Z lines are pulled towards the center or pulled towards the middle. Because Z lines are moved towards the middle, therefore the size of the I bands will be reduced. So I bands will contract. So during muscle contraction, I band is contract. So I band contracts, right? So I band is contracting, light band is contracting. There is no change with respect to A band. Now, please tell me what will happen to the O band. What is happening to the O band? O band is the overlapped portion of the A band, which is formed of both I band and both thin filament and the thick filament. So you can see here this O band is increasing in size. It has increased in size. You can see here this is the O band. So naturally this O band, you will see here that O band has increased in size. Please compare the above yellow portion and below yellow portion. You will see that this O band has increased in size. So O band increases in size. So we can write O band increases in size. So length of the O band, in other words, that is increased. Now what is happening with the H zone? So H zone, you can see that H zone is narrowing. You can see here the H zone here, H zone has narrowed. So here you can see that H zone has narrowed. Okay? So therefore during muscle contraction, so what is happening to the H zone? H zone becomes narrow. H zone becomes narrow. So this is what is happening during the muscle contraction. So we have seen in this today's video that muscle gets contracted when the thin filaments are pulled towards the thick filaments by forming the cross bridges between actin filamentous and the thin filaments or myosin filaments. So here is the, if you see this, these lines that are emerging from the thick filaments, these are the cross bridges. So these cross bridges will pull the actin filaments towards the middle of the sarcomere. They will pull the Z lines towards the middle, because of which length of sarcomere will decrease without changing the length of the individual myofilaments. There is no change in the length of myofilaments, but what changes is the size of the sarcomeres. So what happens during muscle relaxation? Muscle will relax when the calcium ions which are present in the sarcoplasm are returned to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now that is done by the actively transporting them into the sarcoplasmic reticulum by the expenditure of ATP. And number second, the acetylcholine is converted into acetic acid and choline by acetylcholine esterase enzyme, which is present at the neuromuscular junction. At the neuromuscular junction, acetylcholine esterase will convert acetylcholine into acetic acid and choline, so therefore there will be no further inward movement of the sodium ions, and rather the sodium potassium pump will operate and it will return the sarcomere to its original resting potential, and muscle will relax. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture, you have learned something, and in next video we will talk about the types of the contractions. Thank you.